Hey guys, I'm Abby.
And I'm Keith.
Welcome to our 80s Life.
So we are fresh off the 80s cruise and we are back home.
Yeah, we've actually been home a few weeks, but I think we confused our friends because we keep posting all these pictures and videos. And some of you guys are thinking we're still on the cruise. Like my friend was like, that's a long cruise. I was like, no, it's actually a week.
Man,
But
I
we've been
wish
home.
I wish it was 3 or 4
I
weeks.
wish it was too, but we've been home for a few weeks. We just have so much footage and amazing pictures and video from just this jam-packed cruise. It was so much fun. We have so much to share with you guys, so we're going to be spreading it out over the next couple of more weeks. And so we're actually our home, and then we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Well, today we were very excited to have a very special guest, and I would have to say this is probably the hardest working man on the 80s cruise.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to welcome to the channel Joey Fairchild. He is production director of the 80s cruise.
Yeah, I like it. How you guys doing?
We are doing great. How are you?
It's good. It's good. It's good to be home and starting to work on next year already.
That's great.
Oh my goodness.
That's great. We were just talking about, we were exhausted after being on the cruise for 1 week, but it has to be extra hard for you because you have the Star Trek cruise the week before, and then you have the 80s cruise. So you're going back to back 2 cruises in a row.
And actually 3 in a row because we get on the week before. So we do a pre-cruise before any charter.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, before any charter, there's a small team of us, like 10, 11 people that go out and we just start getting everything ready. We start talking to the cruise ship. We start going through our programs, how it's all going to work. We do it all year long with them, but really that last week is when we really dive in really deep and a lot of detail. So yeah, it was 3 weeks because we did the pre-cruise, Star Trek cruise, right into the 80s cruise.
All right, we were wondering how the heck you did that on the front end because
Yeah.
at least between the Star Trek cruise and the 80s cruise, you kind of have that, that 12-hour period of things are winding down and you're getting ready for the next. I'm like, how in the heck do you do on the front end? You get everything on the boat and then you're ready to go when everyone gets on. So
that's crazy.
That makes much more sense.
Yes. All right. So we should explain to people a little bit about your job. Okay. So Joey works for Entertainment Cruise Productions. You'll hear us refer to it as ECP. And these guys basically take over a Royal Caribbean ship in this case and turn it into the themed cruise, which the one we go on and you've heard us talk about is the 80s cruise. So how long have you worked for ECP? And can you kind of explain to us a little bit more about your job and what that entails?
And I'd say probably also, how did you get into this?
Yeah.
You can throw that in there as well.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. Let's see.
Okay.
How do I get into it? So I am 5th generation entertainment. I grew up in the industry. It's all I've really ever done. I've had like one quasi, what I say, a real job, and I don't even know if that was a real job. I worked at a car wash. I did a couple other little things like that. But entertainment is all I've ever known. So I come from a touring background is what I did. I toured with a lot of bands as a production manager, lighting designer, and then I got into the cruise industry through a band I was working with. I started with Entertainment Cruise Productions in 2005. So I've been there 18 years this year.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And my job is I'm the production director. So a lot of what I do is logistics. The first kind of step is figuring out all the different things that we need to bring onto the ship to do the theme, whatever the theme is, and this being the 80s cruise. It's a lot of musical equipment, a lot of drums, keyboards, guitar amps, all the sound systems, lighting systems, video walls, all of that. So all the logistics and dealing with customs, getting all that stuff on board. I'm also involved with all the decor and theming, and I work with a whole team of like what we want to do on the ship. So if we're taking a bar, that's usually a pub. And on this last cruise, as you know, we turned it into a Gremlins bar. So we do the brainstorming and the design and the thinking on all that. And then the best part is I get to work with all the bands and all the talent. So I work with them throughout the year once we have our lineup set, and we talk about not only their shows, but the other things they're going to do. So we talk about their Q&As, which VJ they might want to have run their Q&A or vice versa, which VJ wants to do certain bands. And then some of the other things too, we'll work with them as to what they want to do. for their other activities. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts and quick broad strokes of what I do.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I just want to know, when do you find time to sleep?
Definitely when we get home. We crash when we get home, but when we're out there, we're running on adrenaline and caffeine.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule on the cruise is so crazy. I think you should put those pictures up too, because we have some pictures of you.
Uh-oh.
You're everywhere. You're literally everywhere. And Joey participates in the costumes as well. Now, I have to say, a lot of our viewers really loved that middle one, the Humpty Dance guy.
Yeah.
Okay. That was an amazing costume. I didn't even realize it was you until afterwards when you were tagged in the pictures. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was Joey. Great costumes.
Yeah, and we loved the horror night this year. That was a good time, and y'all did a great job of getting the promenade.
The scare zone.
The scare zone was great.
Yeah,
A+.
That's a good one. We have fun with that.
Yes, we love the haunted houses. Some of our earliest videos are us doing haunted houses, going through them. And we've always loved that. So when we saw that theme, we got real excited. I saw you on a ladder hanging some decorations. And later I saw you dressed as a scary clown. I mean, you're everywhere. You're doing all the things.
Well, that's what we do. You know, we work all year, and, you know, we've started now. We're home and we're starting to work on next year, but we work all year for the cruise. So when we get out on the cruise, that's our reward. That's the most rewarding part, is finally being able to do it and see all the ideas and concepts come to life, see the guests hopefully enjoy it, and the band's having fun, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, we really don't sleep when we're out there, just kind of like the guests don't sleep because it's too much going on. And so yeah, we're everywhere and we're having fun.
Yeah, you get that FOMO, you fear missing out.
I get FOMO really bad. I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know about, I know ECP has been going for a while and you've been with them, you said, for a number of years. What are some of the other themes that they've either had in the past or that they currently offer?
Yeah, well, I've been with them since 2005. The company did their first kind of official full charter in 2001. So we've produced, I want to say, probably around 70 full ship charters. And it's really what we do. We don't do any half ship or anything. So we do everything we do. We take over the entire ship. We've produced everything from jazz cruises to country cruises. We've done an Elvis cruise. We've done NASCAR cruise. We've done oldies cruises. We produced and created the Soul Train cruise. A lot of times other companies or people will come to us with concepts and they'll team up with us and have us help them create cruises. And we'll run them for a few years and then kind of send them off on their own, or, you know, things like that. So we've done a lot. And then our current cruises that we're currently sailing right now is the 80s cruise, obviously, Star Trek the cruise, and the High Seas Rally, which is the world's only motorcycle rally on a cruise ship.
I bet that's a fun time.
That's crazy. This guy rides motorcycles. So
I have a Harley.
Put your blinders on. We can't do another cruise this year. But
that one's a great one because there's a big charitable component to it too. So we raise a lot of money for a dialysis fund and Wounded Warrior Project. Plus we have bands and all the events that would be at a rally. So yeah, it's a good one too.
That's really cool. I love it.
So I'm a logistics guy, and so I always get really intrigued on how you pull this whole thing off. So first, let's start with, how many employees or how many people does it take on board to pull off a cruise?
It's a lot. So ECP, there's only about 14 or 15 full-time employees that work for the company year long. And then we do bring a lot of subcontractors on and vendors who bring on staff as well. And we bring on probably around another 50 or 60 people. So there ends up being between 65 and 75 staff on board. And that's everything from technical staff to event team and the team that JT works with, our cruise director, sales team, guest services. We bring our own hospitality staff on to kind of help and try to teach the ship kind of what our guest demographic is and make sure F&B is hopefully going the way we want it to, and, you know, just things like that. So it is a lot of people that come on board to make it happen.
Wow. I know, I see them around with their shirts and everything.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of them are behind the scenes. We've only gotten to know like a few of them. They're just all over. That's amazing. What an endeavor.
Yeah. We saw you had a video on on your, I think it was on your Facebook, or maybe it was
It
on,
was like last year's
yeah.
on Facebook.
So you did a tour of the warehouse where everything is stored, and that's in Orlando, correct?
So we have a couple different warehouses.
Okay.
So one warehouse, I live in Sarasota, Florida. So
Okay.
one warehouse is here in Sarasota, and that houses a good amount of stuff and a lot of some of the technical stuff. Like we bring on a lot of office stuff. We bring on our own printers. We bring on, all that kind of stuff, computers, bigger screens, a lot of the props and decor. And then we use a vendor in Orlando for a lot of staging, lighting, sound, and all that. And then we also have an area in their warehouse where we store a lot of the bigger props, like the boom box on the 80s cruise and some of that. So then there's that. And then there's a third warehouse that's actually in Cape Canaveral, Florida, because that is our customs broker that we use to get everything on and off the ship. And that is kind of where everything from like pillow gifts and merchandise and stuff like that has to go and get cleared by customs before coming onto the ship. So it's kind of 3 warehouses we manage.
The pillow gifts. I haven't heard them referred to as pillow gifts. We always just call them
you go back to your cabin and you got a little gift on your pillow, right?
We call them swag, but I like that. Pillow gifts. That's cute. We love the pillow gifts.
Yeah, they're great.
They're all super fun.
So how different was it this year, considering we were porting out of Los Angeles instead of Port Canaveral, which logistically sounds that, I know it's very complicated. You have 3 warehouses and it's probably not easy to get everything on the boat in Orlando, but how much more complicated was it to do it in LA?
Certain parts of it were definitely more logistics and more challenging, but it's stuff we've done before. We've done cruises out of California. We've done cruises out of Europe. New Orleans.
Europe. Wow.
Yeah, we've done them kind of everywhere throughout the years. But, again, since our main warehouses are in Florida, everything had to be trucked from Florida. A good portion of our staff or the production staff lives in Florida. So instead of us driving to the port, we all had to fly. So that was a different thing. A lot of the bands that usually fly in got to drive, so they liked it better. Oh, yeah. So just a little different like that. We use vendors that are national or nationwide. So they'll have offices in different cities. So like some of our audio companies and big lighting companies, they could kind of pull from different places. So instead of coming out of Nashville or Orlando, we did pull from Los Angeles for those. So that was easier. So it's always one year it's easy, one year it's a little more challenging, but you just kind of roll with it. And, had to move it around, and we did it. And now we're back to the Caribbean and back to Florida next year. So it'll be a little easier for me.
Yeah, we're really excited to go to Aruba and Curacao. Those are 2 places I don't think otherwise I probably would ever make it there. So far south, and I hear such great things about it. So we're really excited to go there. And I'm kind of more excited about having really an extra day at sea in it as well, because I think sea days are probably my favorite days.
Me too.
Yeah, there is so much programming that it gives us an opportunity to spread some out, but we'll end up adding more, and then it'd be too much stuff for everyone to do as well.
That's always a challenge. All right, so I have to ask you this. I know in all the years you've been doing this, not everything's going to go perfect and smooth. Are there any crazy stories you can tell? Like, what is the wackiest, craziest mishap or just weirdest thing? Spill some tea, Joey. You got any stories for us?
Mishaps. Wow. We try not to have mishaps. There's always stuff that happens behind the scenes, I guess, that nobody really sees, but that's kind of little stuff. Like sometimes you'll forget to bring a certain guitar amp for a band or something like that, and then there's not much you can do. You're stuck at sea, so then you're talking to them. Year one, the ship wasn't quite prepared, and we ran out of alcohol. Certain brands, we didn't run out of all
We've
alcohol.
heard the rumors about that.
Depending on who you talk to, the entire ship was dry, but really it was certain things like.
I've seen the tagline a lot. We drank the ship dry.
Drank the ship dry. Yeah. Let me tell you, the year one cruisers are pretty proud of that.
Proud.
Actually,
Yeah.
It was that as a moniker.
I mean, it was at the time it wasn't fun, but it was also kind of neat because one of our ports was Puerto Rico. So when we got to Puerto Rico, we were on a Holland America ship. There was another Holland America ship there, so they transferred some stuff over. There was also a local liquor store, so they went and got some things. Like again, I want to say it was like Goldschlager or something like that. That they went and got. Probably not Goldschlager, but Fireball. That's what it was. Fireball. What else? I don't know. Probably one of the biggest things that happens that we can't control and is always the hardest to deal with is when you do have an artist or a band that has to cancel or postpone for a reason. And that's always the hardest to deal with. We always try to roll with the punches and replace them the best we can. And then even the guests, you guys have kind of gotten accustomed to like, hey, this may happen or that may happen. And those who come back know that we do our best to then replace them. But that's always the most difficult, especially like if you've printed T-shirts already or you've done this already and they're on there, that type of deal. It's kind of like, this is the hardest thing to deal with.
I mean, last year, Living Color was a last minute like bonus band. And they were amazing. You guys brought them back. Amazing again. Yeah, I mean, we love that. Sometimes it ends up being a happy accident or whatever you want to call it.
Happy surprise.
Happy surprise. So we're okay with that. We kind of liked the whole like surprise. We added another band. That was cool.
Sometimes it goes that way,
Sure.
So we've experienced 2 years of theme nights now, and we've had some that we really loved, and we've liked them all, but some that we really love. So any memorable theme nights for you? Do you have a favorite that stands out from your many years of doing this?
Wow. That's a tough one. There's a lot. Well, you mentioned it earlier, Horror Night. Horror Night's a great one. That was one we did a few years ago. A lot of people liked it, so we brought it back. So that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but that one's a lot of fun. Not everyone's into it, but the proms I think are becoming more and more fan favorite for us, because taking over, especially on this ship, taking over the dining room and having 3 floors of that party, and they get the guests get to vote on it. And so it's different every year, even though it's prom. So transforming it and trying to make it that. And it really is. It's such a cool energy because everyone does kind of go back to high school that night.
Yeah.
All the theme nights are fun, but that night everyone does kind of have that, that high school mentality, and they're voting for the prom king and queen, and it's all that. Nerds and Jocks. I don't know if you guys were there for that one. That was a great one.
We missed that one.
Yeah, I think that was the year before us.
Bring it back.
And then probably my favorite, just because it's so elaborate and it keeps getting bigger, it seems like, is the Pop Icon night. The costumes are just so elaborate, and what the guests come with every year is amazing.
Those costumes are over the top. Some of them, they're amazing. Yeah,
unbelievable.
We cannot compete with those costumes. We don't even try.
We don't try.
But we do costumes, but we don't.
You just say that I dress up and stuff, and I do, but that's the one night I do not dress up, because there's no competing and no even trying to do it. I mean, but it's great. It's such a great night. I don't know. You've done it 2 years, right? You've been on the cruise.
Yeah.
So far, I think my favorite was the toga party.
Toga party, yeah.
But just because the energy at that toga party was just so electric, so amazing. It was so magical when I was just dancing and enjoying Trial by Fire and looked over, and Terry Nunn was in a toga right by me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm partying with Terry Nunn. Like, be cool. It was just that is never going to happen anywhere else in my life. So that was just the coolest thing. And this year we really enjoyed it was kind of the same vibe. The slumber party with Tone Loc, the sleepover Tone Loc pajama party with Trial by Fire. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. Our favorite.
That party was awesome. I think I lost my voice that night.
Totally. I lost my voice every night. Who are we kidding?
I always try to have one theme night, because everyone goes out so much and has so much elaborate costumes. We always try to have one night that's kind of like the quote unquote, you can call it in, right? Like, so pajama night was great. Toga night was great. And sometimes it's those theme nights end up being the surprise hits of the cruise, and it's you look at it on paper and people are like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, or I'm looking forward to this. And then they get out there and then they kind of change their mind. They say, you know what, that one was actually one of the best.
And I was really surprised how much people came out for the Horror Night. I mean, there were some fantastic costumes that would almost rival Pop Icon night. I mean,
yes,
very much.
It was incredible.
I mean, I'm at the Vixen, concert, just jamming out, and I look over, there's Large March. So I had to stop for a minute and take a picture. I'm like, this is never again. I keep saying this.
Okay.
It's like hashtag only on the 80s cruise is a thing, because I definitely posted that night. I was like, ran into Large March at the Vixen concert, hashtag only on the 80s cruise. And then this year we have to talk about Morris Day's performance, where all the other stars showed up on stage and were doing the bird. That was so great. Like, there's Tone Loc. Oh, there's Corey Glover. There's Skeletor. There's Ursula the Sea Witch. It was insane. We loved that night.
That's right.
We love all of them were great, but Morris Day, wow.
That's what kind of happens, right? Like, because the bands are out there, most of them are out there all week. A couple are on half the week only, but they all know each other. So when they're not performing, they're hanging out with each other, and then they're like encouraging each other to come up in their shows and stuff. So it's kind of like you said, like some of it is like you can't see it anywhere else, and those are the most magical moments for us too. Like the same with the piano bar jams and all that. We don't know who's going to show up. We have a meeting day one and say, okay, everybody, remember the piano bar jam is this day. And then they all talk throughout the week, and magic.
I love that.
Yeah. So speaking of talent,
Yes.
since we went there. So how do you decide who's going to come on the 80s cruise? How does that process work of booking talent?
A lot goes into it. I mean, first you want to find people that definitely fit the genre, the theme, so they got to be, the 80s. They've got to have a good show, hopefully, is what we always try to look and do our research on. They have to want to do the cruise. There's a lot of bands that don't want to get on a cruise ship. There's a lot of bands that don't want to be involved with anything that has the 80s moniker. Also, they're kind of too cool for school, or feel like that they're more than just what that was, which is too bad. And other events have changed their name because of that, and we're just not willing to do that. It's the 80s cruise, and that's what it is, because it's more than just the bands and the music. Budget comes into it, obviously. You can't get certain bands like Guns N' Roses or Duran Duran because they're playing massive stadiums or arenas, and it's just, they're out of budget. So it's really that, always trying to find new stuff, things we haven't had, that line between then bringing back some of the bands like Living Color, like you say, because once a band has done the cruise, they kind of know what to expect, and they can actually be better year 2 or year 3 or whenever they come back, and they can actually help bring other bands out of their shell as well while they're out there. So sometimes it's really important to have repeat bands, to just kind of just like Passengers, right? The first year you guys came on, there were other Passengers and people you knew that said, hey, come do this, come check this out, you don't want to miss this. It's the same thing with the bands. They all communicate. So having bands that have done it before and being able to kind of show them the ropes is important. So that's pretty much what goes into it.
And I love the camaraderie amongst the bands. I love seeing them hang out together. We loved the backstage bar this year. You know what's so funny about that? I was like, the first day or so, I thought we weren't allowed to go back there. And then someone told me we could. And then that was probably the number one place that we would run into talent, because I think they thought also this is the backstage. So this must be where we're supposed to go. It looks like a backstage. So they'd hang out in there, and we were like, oh, let's go see. So as every time we would walk past the backstage bar, we would just pop our heads in to see who's in there.
Yeah, it was just a concept we had this year as we were doing all the theming. And we said, hey, what can we do with this? And we kind of came up with this concept of like, well, what could we do? Because we wanted to curtain it off because the way it normally looked. And we're like, if we do that, it's going to look like backstage. And we're like,
it's like light bulb.
But you're right. You're 100% right. At first, it kind of started out. And we're like, maybe people don't like it. And then we started checking. And then we'd do the same thing at the end of every night. And like all the bands were hanging out in there. I guess they felt like at home, or they felt comfortable because it looked backstage. But it was wild. And then everyone started realizing like we need to go in there because we're hanging out with the bands in this bar.
Exactly.
Really cool.
Right.
We loved that.
Now we've told everyone our secrets. So now everyone knows.
Well, I don't know if they'll have it next year, but
I don't know.
That was cool.
And the interesting thing was, it seemed like the party would migrate from the backstage bar down to the pizza area. I mean, I don't know how much fun we had between like 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning with different talent that was hanging around, just hanging out with them. I mean, it was so cool.
That they're hungry. They like pizza too.
Yeah, that's the separating the men from the boys right there for sure. When it gets to be that time, and it's like, who is still hanging out on the promenade by the pizza at 3 a.m. trying to figure out where they can get their next drink and keep hanging.
That's right.
Yeah, we pretty much shut down the pizza place every night. So hence why we're still recovering from the 80s cruise.
And one thing we missed our first year that we picked up on the second year was we didn't hit the behind the musics. Because they're usually a lot of them are in the morning, and we were sleeping in. And so this year we really forced ourselves to get out of bed, because that is a great opportunity to be able to interact with talent. If you want to get something signed, it's a great opportunity to do that. So
we've got some of these records.
Yeah, we got some behind us now. So we learned from year 1 to year 2, like, all right, no matter how late we stay up at night, we have to bite the bullet and get up that next morning.
At least one of us
And
has to.
yeah. I think there were sometimes it was just me.
It was. I was like, babe, go get the autograph, come back and wake me up.
Yeah, those are fun, and we're gonna reschedule some of those a little bit differently moving forward because there was probably a few too many in the morning. But yeah, those are great. Like I don't know if you saw the one with Will Calhoun, the drummer from Living Color, and Downtown
Yes.
Brown. Like
Fantastic.
and those are really cool.
Downtown Julie Brown was a great ad this year. We really enjoyed her. She was everywhere, all over. She looked like she was having such a blast. I hope she gets to come back because she was really fun. What kind of accommodations do they get? Like, are they in the regular cabins just like we are? Do they have bigger special cabins? Do they have like green room, crazy riders or things that they're asking for? Like, tell us, give us some tea.
It's, I wish there was more excitement there, but it's really not. No, they're in regular cabins just like everybody else. So you could literally be staying next to one of the bands. Some of them, depending on their status or whatever, might have a bigger cabin. But otherwise they're just there. And there's really no special areas for them. Backstage of the stages are really, really small because we are on a ship. So typically what we do is we take all their riders and we kind of mark them off and scratch them out. So anything that they are asking for, we don't really provide for them. So a lot of bands do ask for odd stuff at times, but we don't have to deal with that because we scratch it out. Every now and then there's someone who pushes back. I'm trying to think what stuff we've had to do. Oxygen. We've had to provide oxygen for certain
Oh no.
for like hard singers. Live real flowers, which is pretty hard to do on a cruise ship.
Yeah. Wow.
Certain snacks. One of the artists on this last cruise had to have Ruffles potato chips, which was good for me because I like salty and I like chips. So we ordered a big thing of like all the snack size. So I got to get in on that. So I like that one. But no, it's not really that bad, really.
I was going to ask you, did you get off at Puerto Vallarta and run across the Sam's Club real fast and get a big bag of it?
Definitely have people doing stuff like that at times. Yeah, that's one thing that's nice is when you go and you like open the window and like paradise, but then you see like Walmart, we need supplies.
Let's go.
Yeah, that one was odd. Like you had to travel to get to the actual town.
Yeah.
This last year we were sophomores. We'll be juniors now. So I'm assuming first year that wasn't even a thing that you thought about because you're probably just trying to get to the first year of the 80s cruise. But assuming as time went on, how did that come about? I mean, how did the classifications of
and like the graduation?
And
whose idea was that?
Yeah, where did all that come from?
I mean, that was all just happened organically. The first 80s cruise was in 2016. We had been working on it since like 2014. And we knew it was going to be fun. We knew it was going to be great, but we didn't know exactly what it was going to be or that it was going to be as big as it is. And we went out there that first year and it was amazing. And it was great, but it's like we've grown so much. Like we have so many more bands. That first year, I think we only had like 5 bands on the main stage. We had like 6 for the lounges. So we've really grown. But we came back year 2. And all of a sudden, anybody who was on year 1 was calling new people freshmen, right? Like, oh, you're a freshman, you're this, we're sophomores.
The cruisers started that.
Like, what is going on here? And we're like, okay, and we just kind of left it alone. And then year 3, same thing. A lot of people came back and they're like, we're juniors, you're freshmen, you're only sophomore, you're underclassmen, and all this. But then they started like bringing them in, and we're like, okay, they're building a community. They are all building this community and doing all this, and they would wear beads to indicate like, what year they cruised and all that. So then we started embracing it. So then on year 3, we started kind of saying, who's our juniors, who's our freshmen, and we started doing all that. So then as we planned year 4, we're like, we need to have a graduation, but we don't want to do a graduation and people think they can't come back. So it's like, hey, you're graduating to college, you're graduating to that next level of the alumni. And now we do special things for our alumni. They get a special show, they get extra things, little perks here and there. And it's just become a thing. So yeah, the graduation ceremony, even if you're not graduating, has become one of the coolest parties on the ship. Everybody goes to see them march. I think we had like 320 people march for graduation this year. And it's really cool. It's really fun. And it's just it is what the 80s cruise is. We talk about it all the time, but it really is the community. It's not just a community of the bands and everything. It's really the guests and the community they've created. It's just pretty unbelievable.
I mean, that's like our favorite thing, because
Yeah.
now we have all these friends. And the day one, we went to the sail away party. We got back to, and we put it in our video, and it was totally true. We came back, and Keith said, "We found our tribe. This is it. And these are our peeps. They all like the same music as us. We all grew up at the same time. We had that same shared experience that we'll never get back. And we love those people. Some of our favorite people are people we've met on the 80s cruise. And we've maintained friendships, even though we live all in different places. There's none other in our city, unfortunately, but we've maintained friendships throughout the year. And now it's like, we can't wait. It's like a reunion next year.
It's a family reunion every year.
Yeah, and it multiplies. I mean, like
Yes.
every year we meet more and more people, and it's just like we get more and more friends. But yeah, when we got off that first cruise, getting on, I said, I found my tribe. Getting off, I said, I think this was one of the best weeks of my life. I mean, it was so much fun. And then year two lived up to it. It was different because we knew what to expect during year two. So I think the feels were a little different, but it was I'd still rank it up there with one of the best weeks of at least my year, you know.
It's absolutely probably the best week of our year. Yeah. We're always looking forward.
I'll tell you a story. I remember, like, after you guys were on year one, we started seeing your videos popping up. We're like, who are these people? What is this? And like, oh, this is cool. They're doing all these videos. And you would break it down by day, right? So you do your day one, and you're like, oh, there's this sail away party thing going on right now, but it's also a good time to come hang out in the cabin. I'm like, oh, they're new.
they're not going to stay long.
Yeah. Now you're like, oh yeah, you don't miss the day one sail away party, do you? No.
It's like they'll figure it out. They're freshmen. What do you expect? So yeah, our sophomore year was definitely different. And I think one of the bigger things was we were really incognito the first year because we were just doing our thing and no one knew what we were doing and we just did it. And then our videos came out. And then this year we're especially popular with the freshmen because, people are trying to figure out, one, what is the 80s cruise about? Do I want to go on it? And then two, like, okay, what do I need to prepare? How do I need to prepare?
Yeah.
What do I need? What the heck's going to happen that week? Yeah.
So they're Googling.
Yeah.
And whose face comes up?
Yeah. Ours. So it was
a great job with that. You guys learn.
We're just like the everyday people that going on the cruise. Yeah. So a funny thing happened, Joey, this year. On day one, we were like, okay, we told our friends, okay, we'll meet you, in such and such. In half hour, we go back to change or whatever. And then we try to get through the promenade to meet our friends on the other end. And we kept getting stopped. And Keith and Abby, we were like, oh man, these are all freshmen that have been watching our videos. Thank you for helping us get ready and know what to do for the cruise.
Which it was really cool. I mean,
it was so cool. We're like, oh my God.
We enjoyed meeting all these new folks, but we didn't expect that at first.
We weren't expecting it. We didn't know that was going to happen.
Everyone treats each other like celebrities. Once they get to know you, they stop you everywhere. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It was really fun. We're like, okay, we'll just enjoy this for the week, and then we'll just go back to our regular lives. But yeah, super fun. And I imagine every year it's just going to be, like you said, more and more friends. Yep. Next year we're juniors.
Nice.
Tell us about next year. Speaking of next year.
Yeah, tell us about
what
2024.
We got on tap for
next year, February 29 through March 7. We leave out of Cape Canaveral again, and we go to Aruba and Curacao, two awesome places like we talked about. Extra Sea Day. Good lineup, great lineup. 38 Special, Debbie Gibson, Soft Cell, Air Supply, Sebastian Bach. Who else? Wang Chung.
When in Rome.
Rat.
Piercy Rat. Yeah, When in Rome. There's a ton. And we're 88% sold already.
Wow.
So it is not going to be many cabins left for very long.
Yeah, so you guys, if you're watching, you need to go book now. So we put the website at the bottom of the picture there, the80scruise.com. You can go and book there.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description as well, because a lot of you guys have been asking us about it or saying, like, we want to go. Okay, it's your chance. But like Joey just said, it's probably going to sell out because the lineup
we're going to sell out quicker than usual this year. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everybody out there. And if you're freshmen, go check out Keith and Abby's videos because it's
that's right.
Learn everything about the 80s cruise.
And we promise you don't get hazed. If anything, I feel like the freshmen get extra special treatment because everybody wants to make sure that they're having fun.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that is true.
Well,
And
Joey,
you guys are coming back, right? You said your junior's coming back.
Oh yeah, we're already booked.
Oh yeah, and we've already promised our daughter and her will be her husband in a week to that they will be able to come on in 2025 when we graduate. So, so you know, we had to endure all my daughter's graduations and all those dance recitals. You know, we told them that they have to come endure our graduation, but I think they're getting the better end of that deal.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, so no,
and your daughter's old enough now that she can hang with you guys and party and try to hang out till 3 a.m. with you at the pizza bar, because those are the only kids allowed. Is you got to be
adult only. That's one of our favorite things about the 80s cruise.
Yeah, our kid is 25, so
so no worries.
Yeah, so we're excited to have them. We'll show them the ropes. I don't think they'll be able to hang with us though. You know, I would bet money on that.
All right. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for joining us, Joey. It's good to see you.
Yeah, and we definitely, Joey, we need to do this in the spring when we're getting ramped up to go on the cruise, when we're all pumped up and ready to go. I would love you to come back and we can talk the 80s cruise again then.
Yeah, let's do it. And we can get people ready and tell them what to bring and how to prepare and how to party for a week on the 80s cruise.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks, Joey. We appreciate it, and have a great evening.
Appreciate you guys. See you out on the 80s cruise.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. It was really great to get caught up with Joey.
And it was really cool hearing all that behind the scenes stuff, because I had so many questions about how they put on such an amazing cruise.
Inquiring minds wanted to know.
And we asked the questions and got the answers, so that was fun.
That's right.
Hey, if you're new to our channel, please subscribe. And also, you can find our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
See you next time.